Also, just wonder, just when we go live, normal delay. Anyway, a little bit unfortunate now, but that's what it is. Welcome back to the More Live channel, finally with More Live again. Today I wanted to quickly test some Octane stuff, some good old 64-bit MIPS, because not amazing Apple hardware, need to get back to really sophisticated workstations. So let's first switch it on. What do we want to test? First of all, we want to test the latest kernel, which we already pre-tested on the Sgi Origin. Welcome, good morning. Navarro. So yeah, Sgi Octane kernel, that would be 4.18 as merged with the Gentoo patches. And also fun fact, I had to reboot because OBS performance wasn't amazing. I forgot to boot the latest kernel. Not really sure if OBS performance was lagging because not latest kernel, or actually I forgot to run with mitigations off as well as IOMMU off. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, let's test that. Does it still work? Quite some. Oh, it's already booting. And then I also want to test the first time ever I've built a different userland. So userland on MIPS, you can have either 32-bit userland, so good old fashioned, which is of course predates this, and this is already MIPS 64. This is already 2 decades old. And yeah, still the old bird. This bug we have fixed over a year ago, that this clears the screen of Getty. So also in good old fashioned, that is test now, you don't need to get that. However, I shortly need, so first of all, this is the latest kernel, that probably a 4.12.7 as per YouTube testing quite a while ago. And so let's first of all, probably we need Ethernet, and then we rsync the latest build. Of course, the latest build I have built here. Of course, so for this build, 2 data center servers were involved, because certainly not building this natively there. So on our aging Xeon data center stuff, I built the kernel as I usually do the last times, and then on the local Ryzen I built here the userland. So this might have been the kind of sort of first time I built N32. So there is old-fashioned 32-bit userland that shared with 32-bit MIPS. Then there was the first generation 64-bit userland, like what is it, MIPS 64, whatever. And then there is also N32, so there is so the original is nowadays called O32, then there is also N32, which probably should have slightly higher performance due to changes in the calling convention and stuff. And this is a little bit, as usual, you build something, it's not 100% perfect, especially as whatever is wrong with lib GPG error. It's of course, I mean, not only crazy that we need a GPG error package, but then also the building is so strange that it's such an esoteric build style, it's hilarious. So this is here in user source T2 trunk. Let's rsync that. So that would be, let's also, how much space do we have? Oh no, it's actually not that much space left, because we certainly have here, maybe, where would that be? Usually I have here some old, usually I name it capital old wherever, or is it another partition? How much free is that even? Let's also zoom that for you, and maybe zoom that in somewhat. Just some manual focus here, that's probably not the most amazingly zoomed, but you get the idea. Disk for human readable, that would be available 1.2 gigabyte. Yeah, nowadays even this is a minimal build, even that nowadays is not. I slightly want to know, there are not actually 2 SCSI hard drives in this. I only have so few base. Maybe that's another partition. Swap, Native volume header, not really though. But this disk, okay, the disk is only 4 gig. That maybe explains the thing. Yeah, then we will not rsync everything, so that would be rsync. We can also get the camera a little bit closer for your reading. So I could VGA capture that another live stream, but not really feeling like getting the binary only Epiphan stuff out and working now. Let's 0 drop frames. Where's our mouse? Let's see, comments in the audience. So for those, of course, right now we have only experts in the audience. That would be rsync, ART, so archive. Although I think archive includes recursive, but whatever. Progress and in place. This is actually my. So and then over SSH. So not sure if you nowadays. Sometimes you do need. Nowadays this stuff is so intelligent that you sometimes don't need to provide that. And so that would be over VR root. So that anyway. So 192.168.2.201 user source T2 trunk build MIPS N32 and then exclude tool chain and exclude maybe logs and also not cross file systems X4 on one file system only, and then rsync to here and one password entry later. So yeah, amazing frame buffer, scrolling speed, just what we are expected. We can already go in here, you see the stuff is coming in here on this. So another day, so we will for sure continue. Most likely someone will borrow me a PCI shoehorn for testing maybe USB. So if you've seen all the USB stuff didn't work in the origin, also we don't really need the firmware actually. This is only wasting quite some firmware space. And so we will continue with this. Also, I'm not yet done with the hardware cursor. As you have seen, that is certainly quite annoying that I spent already a whole weekend on the hardware cursor and I still couldn't get the colors. The problem is with the impact hardware cursor that, so not only there is no documentation, but this RAMDUC, that the output stage, that the digital analog converter with generating the cursor. So not only not documentation, but also really esoteric, so not really nice to program, and so it involves like you need to switch the bus and fiddle around, and somehow I try to reverse engineer and try to mimic this, but this is somehow it's hilarious. It just getting a couple of color values into the color lookup table there. Again, why do I turn to YouTube 1 week and burned on this nonsense and still doesn't work? Anyway, I also reverse engineered some bits for 3D, so, but this is again, I think people tried this before the original reverse engineer in Stanislav in 2005 or 2006. I saw there some comments, maybe in the Linux frame buffer code, like if we poke the geometry engine, it hangs and looks up and doesn't work. So although I have reverse engineered some 3D bits, I have the feeling as soon as I poke them, they will crash as they do on the PS3 here. So yeah, but this is why we try to build this channel all this time. All the stuff takes plenty of time, and eventually I hope I get it working before I retire, but certainly sometime soon, between now and forever, I hope before I retire. Anyway, so let's see if this stuff, do we have a libc already? So this is lib32. And hey, that already has something. So this MIP stuff always was a little bit unstable, so it shouldn't crash the kernel, but sometimes it did. Hey, it even works. I'm not sure if I ever have built this N32 stuff, and if I built it, for sure it didn't really quite work the most. But T2, of course, nowadays in a much better shape. And certainly I'm not really sure if, yeah, this lib32, yeah, I'm not really the most greatest fan. But so I'm still, should I patch this or should I leave it? But either way, we need to do something. If we leave this with lib32, maybe we leave it for standard conformance with other, well, with other distributions, which probably nearly doesn't exist anymore. And soon the last man standing doing SGI MIP stuff here. But if we leave this, then we for sure need to modify our own, because so we have only the glibc dynamic loader here in lib32 and all our own stuff in lib that certainly doesn't match the most. So hey, and this even works, amazing stuff. Let's change root here. Hey, we have even enough for change root and it doesn't segfold, amazing stuff. So potentially that could be slightly faster, because natively, you see, stuff is large, is still rsynching. Natively I have here, whatever I have here, I don't even know what I have. Maybe we file bin bash, and that is, hello, don't tell me something. Yeah, that is the MIPS experience. We looks like we might, yeah, so we apparently crashed here something so much to that stability. That of course shouldn't happen, so maybe this was no high disk I/O. There you see, this is far from, yeah, it works, but hey, we got something. Maybe this was just flushing all the SCSI cache to the disk. Do we have here some dmask? Of course it shouldn't, yeah, reset SCSI bus. Command already specified, command has already been completed. So okay, we didn't crash the kernel, we only had some, yeah, resetting command has already been completed, issued bus reset, resetting SCSI bus. So okay, at least we didn't kill the machine completely. This most likely only was high disk I/O. Yeah, before we sync this everything, we don't have so much free disk space, and probably maybe I said this before, but let's copy this. It would be yeah, I can't show this for privacy reasons, so this would be SCP from some hidden data center of that sort. And the file name was Linux tar something, and that is syncing something. And let's see comments in the audience. Plenty of time wants to pay you for it because crappy thing, what? It takes plenty of time and no one wants to pay you for that because every kid can do crappy things, existing stuff nowadays. Yeah, although I totally understand nobody will pay me. Also slightly wonder why YouTube is telling me not receiving enough data when we have 0 drop frames and 3, I'm a bit going out. Dropping some frames, seriously? Anyway, totally don't expect someone to pay me for this. We had that in previous news. So yeah, we can tune back to that camera. Although I said it is this company, which I publicly shamed a little bit on the other channel for this exact image stuff. Of course, I didn't say not only thank you. Of course, my emails were a little bit pissed because after a decade arguing about an hour or two, then certainly I don't need these customers. And certainly they neither said thank you nor can we pay you an hour or two. But whatever, so tar, I hope that is the right tar. Maybe we test the tar TF. So I don't expect someone to pay me for this, although we might be able to reuse a little bit of this for as access points and firewalls. So testing this certainly doesn't help. But this is also why I turned for YouTube, at least to have your amazing $3 a day of AdSense, and of course Patreon if you want to support this amazing stuff. And of course this is not for commercial stuff, right? Doing impact stuff here is for the most part just certainly hobby, and why not. So we have here new, and so this kernel works, so maybe we change this one to, because the new one works right now for 18, I think it was for 18.5. And I guess that probably could boot. So let's reboot and see how this is going. So this is the second test, so my N32 binaries work. And I think I checked they are slightly smaller. The only problem is with benchmarking, this is now built with the latest GCC in T2 trunk. And yeah, also it's saying 30 frames and 5 Mbit going out, so whatever is wrong with YouTube here. And let's reload the page, you never know. And YouTube is not receiving enough, whatever. So yeah, this fun will continue. I have so much stuff to do. Next is testing the PCI shoehorn stuff as soon as the borrowed one probably arrives sometime soon. And stop for where's my stop for maintenance. And then also I have the 8-channel 8-bit stuff that I just for the fun of it wanted to implement in the ALSA driver. And if you find this amazing working with this vintage systems. Also our hardware cursor, because we can't program the color. So I can program the hardware cursor, but not the bloody colors. That is why with my hardware cursor improved Xorg driver, hardware cursor. So you would think programming the shape is more difficult, but that was relatively easy. I think this was I think quite similar to the VC, the Video Controller 2 of other SGI stuff, because this is using the VC3, Video Controller 3, I think, and they unfortunately changed the bus addressing stuff. So the shape works, so we can set the shape, but it stays with this red or this white red, whatever the ARC's firmware is loading there on boot up. And yeah, that probably takes another 2 days of weekend fiddling to get just the black and white colors in there. So this is similar to the origin, just that we don't have a serial console, but a graphical here, which by the way, in my opinion, this looks amazing, right? 2 decades old, and graphical BIOS like open firmware. In a way, it looks slightly more amazing, you could argue, than open firmware on Spark, but certainly pretty fine as well on Spark set. And also Spark testing is coming up, right? If you are here, Ultra Spark, I built already stuff. Setenv OS load file name IP30 boot. Let's hope that still boots. At least it did on the origin, and it's doing something. I hope that is the latest kernel. So you see here is some PCI stuff. So the SCSI QLogic, or what this is PCI, as well as the Red 1 audio of SGI. So it's not like PCI is not working, just that maybe PCI bridge or PCI initialization of resource allocation, whatever, is preventing that PCI devices on the Origin 200 to work. So root test, and you name A. Somehow so yeah, for 18.5, that is certainly quite amazing. And we even have brought audio. So again, at Gentoo the audio is broken. They have not imported my audio patch, but at us audio should work. Do we even, I think we can probably test this. Do I not have a flag file on here? That is strange. Why not? Anyway, the Edge client does Ethernet, so that is certainly a good sign. Yeah, then next test, so this is only what I wanted to do, not that in T2 we have merged patches that don't quite work. I thought usually I had some flag files on there, slightly wonder why not. Also, we theoretically another day have to, the OpenSSH sandboxing doesn't work on MIPS, and that is also another thing to do sometime soon. Yeah, that's mostly that testing for that also. Yeah, also, so the latest kernel and N32 userland, but again, this is just proof of concept. It's not totally amazing. In T2 also, fun fact, I one frame every 10 seconds. That is strange. OBS is, I don't quite understand why that is, because OBS is telling me 30 frames, 7% CPU load, 5 Mbit going out, so no idea what's, how even, it looks fast on my preview here. Maybe it's whatever. Navarro writes, every router firewall uses MIPS processor and all the ancient kernels with lots of vulnerabilities. Really, that is, yeah, also, so what I'm still considering is, I'm still mixed between how can we make, after a decade here, a Linux business more sustainable, and what I'm actually considering is, although I'm not really sure how successful that will be, is making an IoT Linux distribution and like taking it seriously, like one IoT, like T2 based IoT with like professional support, and certainly then latest and greatest kernels, and exactly for this reason that consumers can use this reproducible T2 builds to keep this updated, and of course maybe even design it so that the vendors can only provide the applications and the base is like kind of like Apple and Microsoft, but in a better way, like not as unprofessional as Apple, but really providing a working Linux base like from professionals, and like kind of like Windows, and those vendors for IoT, for being that a router or a thermostat or a camera, can like kind of not modify our secure and trusted operating system base, and they can only add their applications, so that security updates for kernel and user space and stuff comes from us, and like for the next decade, and like kind of in Windows. So yeah, Detailed writes he can't get a 3950X in Belgium, so 3950, so this works. We could theoretically continue syncing this. So this would be this rsync, which of course we don't wanna, did we? And amazing scene selection, right? Only here brought to you with this amazing Sun keyboard. The only thing why I use the Sun keyboard, not only is it less loud, but certainly it has this amazing 10 extra scene selection keys, but nonetheless some 60% keyboard certainly nice to have. Yeah, so this is just rsyncing the remaining stuff. Maybe actually but okay, no, we let it run. So let's see, 3950 is the latest and greatest, right? Fun fact, I just yesterday ordered from our like professional IT supplier, which by the way I think I got some email from a real professional IT supply company. I ordered or pre-ordered a 3950, but it is officially from moved to December, right? So it's not a surprise. Although, do you have other data? I think so officially moved to December, right? So that is not a surprise to me. Even a professional IT supply like bulk order thing could not give me a shipping estimate. I pre-ordered it yesterday because I had something else from Canon for our scan business. Don't delay, try Exact Scan scanning experience today. So for this, for our Exact Scan work, I ordered some Canon component, and because it also has 2 to 4 weeks shipping time. And I additionally said, yes, and you can also ship it together with an AMD 3950X, and they didn't have a shipping estimate for that either. Anyway, so that is this test scanning. And also how much time do we put into this? The N32-bit, I built this last night, and when people on YouTube get an email from me around midnight, then yeah, usually I just sit there with T2 and do some stuff. So this build just from last night, and good that it works. So the only problem is performance comparison. If I run OpenBench with GCC, this is the latest GCC version, which of course is slow, and either I need to patch the path names that in T2, that everything is in lib32. Maybe I actually just do it, then on the first glance you see, is it O32, N32 or N64? And last but not least, I most likely, fun fact, I patch this in T2, that by default, this is also hilarious, I really wonder who's using it like this. I mean, beside nobody is using it, which, by the way, fun fact, we can also change to this scene and commit here SVN live on YouTube architecture MIPS, and we probably want to commit this to have an N32. Yeah, also this I want to revert, because this was only quick hack. So yeah, N32, when you just build this in T2 right now, and not only does it not build even the GCC segmentation faults, because amazing upstream stuff, and this we can commit to include an N32 ID in the build. That certainly helps. Include or edit N32 build ID to MIPS64. And another thing is that by default GCC actually builds quite some multilib. Multilib being, normally you have only /lib, except if you run 64-bit architectures, and usually you have this in lib64 and regular 32-bit compatibility in /lib, like AMD 64 with Intel i386. And on MIPS, for strange reason, this is only a quick hack, because otherwise the segmentation faults. This is why I disabled multilib for N32 for